Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today on the bench we've got the brand new transceiver from Baofeng called the UV-28 Plus. And this was sent over to me by my friends at baofengradio.com in China. So thank you very much guys for the support of the channel, in particular Olivia. Thank you very much as usual. And she wanted to send this radio through to me to get my honest opinions on it as usual. And she did actually mention that this radio should be compatible with all the future GPS enabled transceivers that Baofeng are making. Now that's a really important thing, and that's why she wanted me to show it working with some of the other models as well, some of the newer generation Baofeng radios. So let's just put that down for a second on the bench and reintroduce this one. So about 3 months back, I think it was 3 or 4 months ago, I was showcasing this, the UV5RM Plus, which also has GPS in it, amongst other things. Quite a nice compact little transceiver modelled on the classic casing that Baofeng were famous for. Very nice looking radio. And although this did have GPS positioning, which works really well, it would only work amongst similar radios to this one here. So it wasn't really compatible with anything going forward. So it wouldn't be able to send its GPS position from, say, this radio over to this one. But Baofeng have listened to the customers, and they've come up with a new GPS module and new data transmission system, which should in effect be compatible going forward with all their future transceivers. So sadly, if you've got the old model, it ain't going to work with anything other than these sort of radios. But moving on, this one should definitely work going forwards. So I'm going to test it out today. That's the key selling point on this new Plus range of transceivers. So let's also reintroduce another radio, another of my favorites, the big heavy brick here. This is the UV-25 Plus. If you remember, we also reviewed this one, and this has got the GPS functionality built inside it, but I didn't have anything to test it with. But now, of course, I have the new UV-28. So what we're going to do shortly is we're going to take these out for a spin, take them out somewhere into the countryside and see if we can demonstrate the positioning and show this radio, hopefully, requesting a position from this one over here on the bench as well, the UV-25, and vice versa. So as I say, all this new generation of radios, this big chunky brick one here, the 25 Plus, can also send GPS data and exchange coordinates with this type of radio. And that must be the case going forwards with all these other ones, but that's what Baofeng are promising anyway, so that sounds quite good really. But anyway, let's just take a little look at the spec before we dive into looking at anything else to do with this radio. So what have we got? We've got a tri-band radio that covers 2 meters, 70 sems, and the 1.25 meter band, which obviously isn't used over here in Europe, but it is quite popular over in the US, and I believe Canada has that one as well. So to put it into perspective, 136 to 174 megahertz transmit, 220 to 260 megahertz transmit, and 400 to 520 megahertz transmit. It also has an FM broadcast receiver inside it, and also AM airband reception, which will be interesting to try out because some of the other models I tried weren't that great on airband, but we don't know yet whether this one is or not. So we're going to give that one a try as well when we go out and about for a walk around. Well, speaking of going for a walk around, we might leave that until tomorrow because I can hear thunder in the distance at the moment, and we've got some pretty big storms kicking around this afternoon. It's sweltering hot inside the studio, so I'm not going to spend too long inside here. I want to get out and about later on, but I'm going to wait for the storm to pass first anyway, and then we can maybe have a bash at trying out some of these new functions. The other good thing about this 28 Plus is that it's also got Bluetooth in it, and there is a basic app available for Android and iOS, so you can actually manage the memories without using a PC. So looking at the price of this thing, it's around £31 in the UK at the moment. I think it's around $40 in the US, depending on the offers that are available. But if you go over to baofengradio.com, have a look. There's usually some decent offers on. And if I can get myself a coupon, I'll stick one down in the description too. So that might be worth having a look at too. Anyway, just looking at the actual physical size of the radio, it is quite chunky, this one. It's certainly bigger than some of the other models I've tried. Not as big as the 25 there. If we just put them both back together again, the 25 still towers over that one quite a lot, as you can see there. But yeah, it's still a fairly hefty radio. So let's just put that one down a second. Have a look at that anyway. It is Mr. Chunky on the side, but it does have quite a big battery pack as well, which is a good thing, which I'll show you in a minute. But as you can see there, it is kind of chunky looking around it. It does seem reasonably well built as well. There is a nice bright colour screen on there, but again, it does suffer from the same problem. I've had this one outdoors in the back garden and I'm still struggling to see it in bright sunlight, but that's no different to any other colour radio really. But one thing that struck me is this keypad down here. Look how bright the backlighting is on the keypad. It may be a bit difficult to see in the studio, but if we look at that now, the keypad is really well illuminated, so that's going to look fantastic in the dark, and it's really, really bright even in the daylight, or sort of in the semi-shade as well. So I think that's quite nice. They've definitely improved the screen resolution and also the brightness slightly, but again, it's highly reflective, as you'll see from some of the outdoor video clips when we do that a bit later on. On the side of the radio, we have got the compulsory PTT button, but it's not made of rubber. This one's plastic on this radio, and there's two side keys. Side key one up there isn't programmable in the software. It just triggers the FM radio and the alarm on this one, which I'm not going to demonstrate now. And the bottom side key can be programmed to do different things like scanning, or all kinds of other stuff as well, like tone bursts, I think, and things. But one of the things I did want to show you is actually this PTT button. It's kind of a bit rocky, if that makes sense. I don't know if you can actually see this on here, guys, but look how rocky the PTT bar is. I must say I'm not really a big fan of it compared to some of the other radios I've used. I mean, it works okay, but just look at the flex in that. Just when I'm just pressing down on the edge of it, around here, it does seem kind of like a bit weird design, really, as though it feels like it's going to fall out, but it's hopefully not going to do that until we finish the review anyway. But I don't think it is. It's just the way it is. It's quite a sensitive micro switch underneath it, but the entire PTT rocks, and it's made of hard plastic rather than rubber. So, you know, some people are going to be turned off by that immediately, I'd have thought. But, you know, not my favourite, but it does work. If you press it down in the centre, it does transmit and everything works good. Speaking of transmission, there is a green LED in the top of here when it's receiving, and a red one, as you can see there, when I key up. And it's doing that, and I'm just listening in the background. I can hear thunder coming pretty close actually now. Hopefully you can't hear it on the video. Looking at the top of the radio, if I just take this antenna off, it's the standard SMA female type antenna jack as well there. So you can put in any radio antenna that you like, as long as it's dual band. If you're using the 1.25 meter band, you'll have to supply your own antenna. The one that comes with this radio is just for 2 meters and 70 sems. So if I just put that back into there, I'll talk about the antenna afterwards, but this one is one of these long whip antennas. It's high gain VHF, UHF, which comes in the box with the radio, which is quite nice actually. It's better than some of the other radios that I've seen, but there you go. Anyway, on top of there, you do have a volume on off knob as well. It's just a normal rotary. Turn the radio off like that. Turn the radio back on by just rotating. It comes on very, very quickly. It just starts up really quick. So that's your volume control knob on there as well. And on the rear of the radio, there's your battery pack, which does have USB-C charging. There's a little flap on the back of that radio there, on the back of the battery pack, should I say. So you can just flip it up. It gives it a degree of waterproofing, I suppose. It doesn't actually say it's waterproof, this radio, but it does actually stop it from getting splashed. And you've also got the desktop charger gold contacts down there. There is a plastic belt clip included with the radio too, which you can see there. Not too shabby really. It does the job. It's not the best, but it just slides onto the battery pack directly. I wouldn't bet my life on it though. It seems okay for what it is. It's just a basic belt clip and everything. So now if we move around to this side of the radio, as you can see there, not too much on this one. You've got the accessory jack for programming just under here, which is the usual thing there with the normal gold connectors. Standard Baofeng K-type jack, so you can plug in a speaker mic or program a cable or anything like that really. So that's about it really. So there's no surprises on the radio. So I would go as far as saying that it's a basic radio in terms of its normal connectivity. It's pretty much what we've come to expect from Baofeng when it comes to this. It's just a solid radio at a good cheap price really. And I think that's what's going to sell this one. In particular, the fact that you can program with the app as well, which is kind of like a useful bonus. I mean, you can actually program these radios, I think, with the UV-28 software in Chirp. So it is compatible with Chirp because all the Plus series seem to be very, very similar because, in effect, the firmware inside these radios is very, very similar to each other. And the app you can the programming software, you can download the CPS for Windows, also allows you to program a number of different plus range transceivers, including the UV-25 that I showed you before. So I'm not going to go into depth with showing you the entire CPS programming again, because if you want to see it, just watch the UV-25 CPS section, because it's basically the same software. All you do is change the radio from a drop-down menu at the top. But there are some things you do need to know about these two radios, which I will tell you later on, to do with setting GPS IDs and things like that as well. But essentially that's it. Front panel of the radio, well, you've got the keypad as we mentioned. You've got the usual A, B for the dual VFO. It has got dual frequency receive, so it can do dual standby. Up and down key for changing channel, incrementing, decrementing the frequency and channel number, etc., which is quite good, and the usual sort of menu system that we've seen previously on these type of radios. I'll go through it briefly, but the other thing on the specification is that this radio has 1,000 memory channels, and they are organised into 10 banks as well. So you can organise all your favourite repeaters or simplex frequencies together, or marine or fire and rescue, that kind of thing. So I'm pleased to see that Baofeng seem to be including the zones or the banks capability into all these new type of transceivers, which is good, because it always used to frustrate me quite a lot when you got 1,000 memories and you couldn't manage them anyway. It's nice when you can split them up. Now, one other handy little feature with a radio like this one is the one key frequency copy mode, and this allows you to grab the frequency from an unknown radio that's transmitting maybe a tone code like a DCS or CTCSS, and something that Baofeng have been building into a lot of their newer models recently. There's also DTMF manual dialing for remote access systems and a whole load of other stuff. So I thought we'd have a quick overview of the menu options on the UV-28 Plus. It is essentially very similar to the UV-25 Plus, but they have changed a little bit inside the menu. Not much though, but basically the two radios are very, very similar. So if we press the menu key up here in the top left hand corner and go straight into there, as you can see on the screen, the very first option is bank. Now it's called zone on the other radios, but this one actually says bank on it. So we're going to click OK on there, and as you can see, this is where you can define a collection of channels and create your own bank names. So what I've done is I've created some repeaters for the local ham repeaters up here, and we've also got ham simplex, marine and PMR 446. So if I want to go to repeaters, I just click OK on there after I've defined my list of channels. We'll go straight back out to the main menu, hit the V&M key, and as you can see there, I've got repeaters all neatly named in there. And if we push the scan key on the side of the radio that I've defined, you can see there the radio is now running on a scan. It's not too slow on the scan speed, it's not the fastest, but it's okay. Gets it around. So that makes it really convenient, because I think it's really important having the bank capability or zoning, because when you've got 1,000 memories, then you do need some way of organising them. It's okay having all them channels, but you might want to narrow it down so you're only interested in listening to the ham repeaters or amateur radio simplex or marine traffic, etc. So that's a good thing. Going back into the menu, scan options are pretty comprehensive on here too. You can see there you've got frequency range scan. You can define your own range of frequency scan. I've defined 145 to 148, but equally I can put in 400 to say 420 megahertz, click OK, and if I'm in VFO mode, it'll scan between them two search limits. Scan subcode, you can scan for a given CT, CSS or DCS tone if you're not sure, if you're listening to a repeater, something like that. Scan memories just does exactly what it says. You can get it to scan all or decode or encode memories. So there's all kinds of options in there as well. Bluetooth, we're going to check that out shortly. You can basically connect an app up on iOS, on Apple or Android, and you can control this radio by Bluetooth for programming. So instead of using the PC CPS, you can use your mobile device to do that, which is really good. Radio settings, all the usual stuff, steps, squelch, vox, power saving, etc. I'm not going to go through them all, because there's so many of them. The voice prompts on and off. You know how I feel about the voice on these things, and the beeps, I've turned them off. GPS option, simply turn it on and off there. Set the time zone for the GPS, and one of the things is GPS mode. You can set between the Chinese GPS system or the American GPS, or a combination of the both, which is really good. And programming channels, well, again, you can program all the radio by hand. You don't need to use any CPS. You can do everything from the front panel. Channel name, receive frequency, transmit power, bandwidth. Everything can be done from inside here. Obviously, it's going to be tedious if you're programming a lot of channels, so you're always best using something like Chirp or the CPS to do it. But the option's there if you want to program on the fly. You don't need a computer to do it. Radio info is simply just the firmware, and you'll notice the radio ID on this radio is 102. Now, as far as I can see, you can't set the radio ID from this handset itself. You've got to do it using the CPS, and that becomes important if you're using the GPS programming or the GPS coordinate service. You need to have each radio with a unique ID number, so I'll show that as well when I get round to the CPS in a few minutes there. So essentially, this is kind of a basic radio. It's not bad when it comes to programming. It's fairly straightforward to do, but at the same time, like I say, to get the best out of these, I still think you need to connect them up to either the app or the CPS programming software if you want to tweak some of the advanced settings on the unit. But that's essentially it. Well, as you guys already know, I don't really do unboxing videos as such because I find them a little bit boring when it comes to stuff like that. But I'm going to show you what actually comes in the box, since everybody will be asking me anyway. This is if you buy it from baofengradio.com. Obviously, you get the handset itself and you get this high gain whip antenna here. This is kind of a long antenna. It's very flexible as well. It's about a foot long, and it does give reasonable performance on VHF and UHF. As I mentioned earlier, you're going to have to source another antenna if you want to use it on the 1.25 meter band. This is just a dual band antenna. So I'll pop that down. You've also got this lithium battery pack here, which is actually 2,200 milliamp hour. So it's a fairly good size. It's going to last you a good day, I would say, with moderate use on the transmit side of things, and certainly going to last all day or so on the receive side of things. So let's just pop that into the radio itself. Just clicks back onto the radio, straight back in, and you get this plastic belt clip that we mentioned earlier. Let's open the box and see what we got inside here. Well, you get the user guide, which is pretty much the same as all the other new series of Baofeng radios. It's well written. It gives you some idea, obviously, of what's what when it comes to the transceiver and what all the functions do and everything. Very small text though, so it's difficult to read, but you can download the PDF online if you want a bigger manual as well. So I'll just pop that over that side. You do also get a desktop charger, which I've not actually used because the battery pack has USB-C charging, so you would only use this really if you really wanted. You have got a 2-pin Euro connector on this model. I'm in the UK, so I would have to get an adapter to use that anyway, but I don't generally use the desktop chargers. Some people really like them, but I don't really have too much use for them. It may charge a bit quicker than the USB-C, I'm not sure for definite, but yeah, so you get that anyway. Obviously, if you buy it in the US, you would get the US 2-pin plug on there as well. You also get the normal compulsory earpiece in the bag, which is just the stock standard one, which you can use with Vox and everything, just a wired earpiece. And in addition to that, what else have we got apart from the packaging? We've got one of these hand straps as well. So that's basically it. It's a basic package. It gives you everything you need to get going with the radio, and that is about it. So I think now we need to just test the output power on this radio. It's supposed to be fairly high powered, but we're going to find out in a second and see what it really puts out. Let's put it on the power meter and see. Okay, let's do that power test then. So I've got the Shawcom SW33 Plus meter in line with a dummy load at the top of here. And we're going to be transmitting on the 2 meter band initially on the full power setting. So full power is quoted as being 10 watts on this type of radio. So let's see if the manufacturer is correct. So let's just key down on there. And we're seeing about 10.3 watts there under load. That's pretty good going, isn't it? 10.2, 10.3, definitely in the 10 watts region on 2 meters. So that's pretty impressive considering what it said in the specifications. Let's do another test then on the mid power setting. If we just go down to radio settings. No, it's not that one. I'm in the wrong place. Program channel, transmit power middle. Doesn't seem to be a shortcut key on the keyboard for changing the power options on this radio. So let's go for mid power. And we're seeing a healthy 5.29 watts now on 2 meters. So there you go, that's coming in pretty good really. About 5 watts, that's probably the setting I would use this radio on the most to preserve battery life. The difference between 5 and 10 watts on a handheld isn't going to get you that much further really anyway, but you're going to save some battery life. And let's go down to program channel, transmit power. Let's go to the low power setting this time and see where we get to. And let's just key up again. And low power is just over 2 watts there. So I think that's a really good sort of well-balanced power output on the 2 meter frequencies anyway. So you've got about 2 watts on low power. That's going to last all day long if you use your radio in a local environment between 2 stations that are not that far apart really. So that's that. Okay, let's flick down to the other VFO. So let's go on to the 77s band, 433 megahertz. This is back on high power again. So let's just take a look at the meter. And we're seeing a little bit less power, 8.6 watts there on high power. Now normally that's the case, that radios do develop a little bit less power as you go up in frequency, but that's still pretty respectable. 8.47 watts anyway on the 70 SEMS band. And if we go down to program channel, transmit power, middle this time, what are we going to get, I wonder? We're getting just under 5 watts, 4.8 watts now anyway, so that's really good as well. So just under 5 watts there on the mid. So this radio so far seems pretty well balanced, which I'm quite pleased about, but some of them have been all over the place, whereas this one seems to be pretty much regulated. So let's go to low power now on the final test on 70 SEMS. Key down on there, and we're getting about 2.3 watts there as well. So 2.3 watts on low power on 70. So I would honestly say this radio is quite well balanced on its power output. The only one we haven't tried is around 220 megahertz now. So I'm going to try 220. Now normally this is a bit crazy on the low, mid and high, so we'll see how this one goes. So 220 megahertz, let's just key down there, and we're seeing about 4 watts on the lowest power setting there, 4.6 watts. Now I suspect if it's anything like the other transceivers we've tested, if I go to program channel, transmit power, go to middle, it's not going to be much different. Let's try that again. Exactly the same. There is no difference between low and mid power on the 1.25 meter band, which isn't a surprise at all, but that's the same pattern that some of the other Baofeng radios were going to. Let's go up to full power and see if it maxes out anywhere. It might go up ever so slightly, but I don't expect much more out of this one. I'll be very surprised if it does. And there you go, 5.3 watts. So yeah, there's not much balance between the powers low, mid and high there, so it's up to you how you run it. Probably the mid or the low power setting would do the trick, but 5 watts, which is still pretty respectable on those sort of frequencies. I have no idea what the harmonics are like on that band. Generally these radios are designed for dual band, like 2 meters and 70 SEMS, so who knows what it's like on a 1.25 meter. We'd have to get a spectrum analyzer in and see what the harmonics are looking like. But there you go, so that's your power test anyway. So pretty respectable from this unit. It seems quite well balanced, as I say, on the 2 and 70. So it's kind of like what we expected, so that's good. So it does meet the specifications given on the website anyway. So we're out here today in one of the local forests, and we're going to be testing the GPS functionality between these two radios. So today I've got the 25 Plus and I've also got the 28 Plus. Now Baofeng Radio tell me that all these models going forwards in the Plus series are going to be compatible with each other when it comes to the GPS functionality. So we're going to test to see if it works between the two units, and we're going to try exchanging some position data between the two of them. Now hopefully you can see the screens out here. They're a little bit reflective with it being quite bright outdoors, but I think you can see them okay. So I'm going to quickly demonstrate how this works. So first of all, there's two things we need to do. Obviously make sure that GPS is enabled on both of these radios. So I'm just going to go into the menu on the 25 first to show you how that works. Now you just press the green button down, go down to GNSS on this one. Sometimes it's labelled GPS, but in this firmware it's slightly different. And if we go down to GPS on, just make sure it's turned on. Press the red button to go back. Go down to GPS mode, and you've got a choice here. You can select between GPS BDS, which is a Chinese version of GPS, and obviously a combination of the two. So I've switched both on because it will give better positioning information and a quicker lock. There's no reason why not to, really, I don't think. I can't think of any negative sides to that, really. And the same on this radio. So I'm going to go to this one now. And we're going to just do the same on here. Go into the menu, go down to GPS. Notice it says GPS on this one, on the 28. GPS mode, make sure it's turned on. Obviously make sure that GPS is on as well. And if you look at the top of the screen very carefully, you should be able to see there is a little symbol indicating the GPS has got a lock up there. And if we hold down the red key, that puts into GPS mode, and the GPS light in the corner has gone green. And it's showing the current position of this radio. There we go. So we know it says position success. So that's good. So let's just pop that one down a second. And the other one here, same thing again. Make sure that we've got the GPS lock. It's a little black satellite symbol up in the top corner there. Hold down the red key. Make sure we've got positioning success, which we have there. We can see it on the screen. We can see the coordinates. And it says GPS there on my position. So one of the other things you've got to do before you do really start to use this exchanging GPS coordinates is make sure that each radio has a unique ID. If you press the green key go back to main menu and go all the way down to the very final section. It says radio info. Press the green one, and this one says radio ID 101. So that's got to be unique. You can have up to 20 different radios in a GPS coordinate batch. But you also need to make sure that the other radios have a unique ID as well. So if we go down to radio ID on this one as well, radio info, and this one says radio 102. Now I was trying to work out for ages how to actually make this happen and give each radio a unique ID. Both my radios had the ID 101 when I first programmed them, and I couldn't find anywhere in the CPS or in the menus to actually change it. And it turns out that the way to do it is to go into the DTMF signaling section, and it wasn't immediately obvious. I think that's really confusing, but I had to go into the CPS and DTMF section, and you can define up to 20 DTMF contacts, and that's where you do the signaling, rather confusingly for the GPS as well, and that's where you set your unique radio ID. I'll show later on when I show you the CPS software. But basically that's got to be done, otherwise this doesn't work. Neither radio will exchange coordinates correctly if you've got the same ID number. So, and as far as I know, you can't do it from the radio itself. I can't see anything to do with DTMF signaling that I can change in the menus. So just something to be aware of. So, and in the software on this model anyway, you can at least set the names as well against each radio. So this one's called Simon, hypothetically, and this one is called Steve. So they've both got unique identifiers against the radio ID number. So if I go back into GPS mode by holding down the red key, you can see that it says my place, but if I press the up arrow key now, it says Simon, never get position. That's the other radio here. It's never got the position from this radio. If I press the up arrow key again, this is me, radio number 2, and it says Steve host. So the host is obviously this master radio here for that positioning information. And so if we go back to Simon, put that one down a second, and then do the same on this radio, press the red key to go into GPS mode. You can see there, look, my place, it says Simon there. And if I now go up, this one says host against here. So we know this is the host for Simon. And this one is Steve. And it says never get position. So basically what that means is they're ready to exchange position information. So I'm just going to leave that one on there as host and put that radio just over there a second. I'll give you a quick demo now. So I'm going to try and retrieve the position of that other radio, and the way we do that is just by simply pressing the PTT key down quickly, and it will send a request to this radio, and it should send the information back with those coordinates on the screen. So look, at the moment it says 000. Hopefully you can see that on the camera. Very reflective, like I say. So if I do that and then just press the key down, try it one more time, and there you go, that works. I just didn't press it down long enough first time round. There you go, look, so it says get position, and that's got the GPS coordinates of this other radio now. All of a sudden it's there, so they're both the same, and there you go, you can see it now on the screen. So that's done it. So we can do it the other way around now. We can go back to the My Place screen on here, so that's what this one's currently on. And we can now request the position of this radio. So if I go to contact ID number 2 on this one, that's Steve, of course. And what we're going to do now is we're going to request it by pushing down the PTT. And there you go. The position data has appeared on the screen. You can see it there. It's retrieved it from the other radio now. So it says get position. And that's it. It's basically got that positioning information from the other radio. So that's really good. So what we're going to do in a second is I'm going to leave this radio somewhere around here on the table, and we're going to just go for a walk with the other one, not too far, and hopefully I can show it with a bearing as well on the screen, because one of the other things you can do is you can press the green button and it will show on that screen there the bearing, the distance from the radio. Should show a little dot on the screen as well. So we'll see how that goes in a minute anyway. Right, so we're just going to go for a little walk down here, see what we can get. Not too far away from the other radio. Of course, I've left my wife and the dog down there, and they ain't going to be too happy if I'm too long. But yeah, it's a great day for doing some tests anyway. At least the weather's quite nice today. You usually get caught in the rainstorms or something, but yeah, it's It's like about 6 o'clock in the evening and it's still quite warm up here as well. It's about 24 degrees, so it's a really warm day in the UK. We're actually having a decent summer this year. Just come out of a big heat wave and everything. So yeah. So anyway, we're just, what does it say, 248 metres above sea level. So we're fairly high up here anyway. It's a good location. It's up in North Yorkshire for anybody who's interested. It's Dalby Forest, so I often come walking up here anyway. It's a real nice location. Miles and miles of woodland and everything. So yeah, so once we get down here we're going to do a quick test and see if we can retrieve the position of the radio. So let's do it. Right, okay, so let's give that a try. So there's my current position. Let's try and request the position of Simon, which is the other radio I left on the bench. So let's see. So if I just press the PTT button down, we should be able to retrieve them coordinates. And there you go, we got it. That's the position of the other radio and the coordinates. Now I don't know if we're far enough apart to use the other feature, but let's go to the green. Press the green button. Is it green on this one? No, it's the top one. There we go. There we are. 115 metres. It's not really showing too much on the little circle there because we're not far enough apart, but it says we're 114 metres apart at the moment. So I've just gone around the corner in the forest and just done that. So yeah, let's just retrieve it again. Press the PTT button just to make sure it's okay. See if I don't know if it'll actually do it on that other screen there. You've maybe got to be back on the other one. I think you've got to be back on the other one. That's kind of interesting. Let's press it again. There you go. Press this button on this one. Yeah, it's about right, and it's pretty accurate, that is, because it's coming up with 118 metres. I got 114 first time around, but this time it's showing that. But as you can see there, it's definitely showing the differential between the two. You can see ever so slightly with that little blue dot in the centre there that we're slightly away from the other radio, but we'd have to be a lot further apart to actually make use of that facility. But as you can see, it works. That's the coordinates being exchanged between the radios, and if I was at the other end pushing the button down, I'd be able to retrieve the coordinates for this one too. So it does work reliably. Like I say, it's surprisingly good, little feature that's built into these radios. Right, here's a little demonstration again of the GPS capabilities of the UV-28 Plus. A little bit further apart this time. What I've done is I've left the other radio back in the car when I've gone out for a walk with the dog, and we're basically going to just try and request the position of the other radio that I left back at the vehicle. So I'm going to push this red button here, put it back into GPS mode. There's our current position, so we know it's picked up a GPS. So even though we're in woodlands, the GPS is working just fine. It's quite sensitive, really. I've had it get a lock indoors when it's near to windows as well, so that's not too bad. So we'll go to the other radio, and as you can see there at the moment, it's got no position data. So of course, this is dependent upon the other radio receiving the signal, which we should do. We're about just over a mile and a bit away, I'd say. So let's just push the PTT and see if we can get the other radio to respond. See if it can send its position data. Let's just key down a second. Let go. Ah, there we go. Yeah, it's got it. Okay, so the signal was picked up from the other radio. Remember, it's just on the seat in the car, so it's not doing bad from indoors. Just on the helical antenna. So there you go. That's showing our current position, well, the position of the other radio. And if we now press the white key, we can see on the crosshairs there, it shows we're about 1.49 metres away from the other radio, 1.4 kilometres, nearly 1.5 kilometres away. And it also shows a little blue dot on the crosshairs towards the west. And that's correct because that radio is basically back towards the west of us from this location. So we could basically navigate to that on the map and head back towards the vehicle. And if we left this screen open, we could see the distance in metres going down towards the other station, and we could just follow due west and we'd be able to find that vehicle more or less. And we could always push the button down and get another update on the position to make sure we're on the right track. So that shows the GPS capability works absolutely perfect in this radio. So of course, it depends on getting a signal between the two units, but it could work over quite a long distance if you're in the clear. I mean, up this way, we're in all these trees around here, near to the coastline and everything, but it's a nice location to give it a test out, really, a bit of more rough terrain. And so I was really pleased with that anyway. So it's all working good. So that's a nice little demo of the UV-28 Plus a little bit further apart there. App programming, everybody's favourite. Who'd have thought in a radio for around $40 you would get app-based programming, as well as a GPS module and the wide frequency range that this one covers? It's pretty good value for money, don't you think? But there is something more important with this. If you're not a Windows user, maybe you're a Mac user instead, you might not have access to the normal CPS software, although Chirp is a very good alternative on Mac and also Windows to the standard stock CPS that Baofeng also provide as well. Now, I'm really impressed with this because you can use this with an iPhone or Android device. I'm on the Apple side of things, so I'm using iOS, and there is an app available. It's called Radio Tool. So you can see it there on the screen there. It's called Radio Tool. That's the one you need to search for in the App Store. There are others that can also program this radio, but that's the one that I found seems to be the most reliable and comprehensive at the moment anyway. It does a number of other different radios as well, so that's kind of interesting. Let's just put the phone down for a second though and just take a look at a couple of things that would save you a bit of time. Now, on this radio there are a couple of shortcuts, and this is a top tip for you guys to save you going into the menu to turn the Bluetooth function on and off and the GPS. Key number 1 turns the GPS on and off. Just keep it held down for a second. You can see there the little blue GPS icon at the top of the screen has appeared because it's trying to get a satellite lock. If we hold it down again, it's turned off. So that's the GPS turned off. And on key number 2, we can turn the Bluetooth on and off. So at the moment it's turned off. Watch the top of the screen when I hold down key number 2. And there you go, there's the Bluetooth symbol, which means the Bluetooth mode is initiated. Now you might be thinking to yourself, why on earth do you need to turn off the GPS and Bluetooth? Just leave it on all the time. But the answer is because it uses more battery power on your radio. If you leave services running that you don't need, such as the Bluetooth, it's going to use the battery up quicker. Also makes your radio vulnerable to other people being able to connect to it and mess around with the settings. And the other thing is, of course, the GPS also uses power. And one more important thing I discovered is that sometimes when you're scanning around on these radios or using certain frequencies, if you've got the GPS enabled, it does create some internally generated noise inside the radio. It's just the way it is. I've seen this on a number of different radios. You do get interference sometimes when the GPS module is running. So unless you really need to use the GPS, maybe switch it off. The same with the Bluetooth as well, but it can cause internally generated noise on the circuitry. So you can turn them on and off easily with key number 1 for GPS, key number 2 for Bluetooth. So that's a top tip for you guys. You can get to them through the menu, obviously, but that does save time. They're the only 2 shortcut keys that I found actually work on the front panel on this radio, but it's not immediately obvious. So I'm just going to put that radio down over there, and we're going to take a look at Radio Tool. So let's just take a look inside there. So let's launch Radio Tool. And as you can see here, it says at the top, Radio Frequency Programmer. And we're going to select the right model, so we're going to tap the model. And as you can see there's a number of different radios that this one supports. Quite a lot of the different Chinese ones, such as, looks like TID radios on there, Quansheng, Radtel. Obviously we're going for Baofeng. And we're going to go down to the UV-28 Pro. Now I know this is a UV-28 Plus, that's the way it's marketed, but actually UV-28 Pro is the same radio, it's just a way to call it in the CPS. So we're going to tap on UV-28 Pro. I'm going to try and make a connection. So it says radio not connected. So we're going to click on connect in the app. The app's going to scan around, and sure enough, there we are, it's come up as walkie-talkie, that's its MAC address. It does come and go sometimes. If you leave it on the screen, it does tend to refresh. So I'm going to just tap on that. Connection successful, there we go. And now we're ready to actually just read data from the radio. So let's just do it. Let's hit read on the app. And look at that. It's reading the data from the radio. Little flashing light on top of the radio, just as it would be if it was programming using the CPS via cable. And so we're just going to leave that for a second. It does take a minute. It's not quite as fast as doing it on the cabled method, but it's pretty good really. And don't forget, it can read up to 1,000 memory channels. So that's the radio just programming up now. And hopefully in a second I can show you guys what's on the screen on the phone here. And sure enough, we should be able to see all the channel data, and all the radio settings should be accessible. And once you've gone into your phone, there it says success on that, which is really good. And if we tap this middle button down here, there you go. The layout in the app isn't the best. It's a little bit on the basic side, but we can see there you've got zone, channel number, channel name. You can tap and change any of these details, such as the power levels for the channel, high, mid, low. Change it to be in the scan list or not. PTT ID, busy channel lockout. And there's all kinds of other stuff you can change on there. The VFOs, optional features, as you can see there, squelch level, voice, everything you can do on the front panel of the radio, and a little bit more you can do inside this as well. And the best thing about it is that there's also a factory reset button at the bottom of there, so if you mess everything up you can put it back to factory standard or clear the data in there. And you can also create a profile as well. So one of the things you can do is obviously go back to read and write, but if you go back into the settings, you can hit save, and you can create a save profile name. So we'll just call this one test, and we'll just hit return on that. And sure enough, then we can just hit save on there. And there we are, it's saved onto the device. So you could set this up totally differently for different field day operations and stuff like that. So it's handy. You don't need to be near a computer. You can do all this from the front of your phone without touching any PC, and do this anywhere. As long as you've got Bluetooth turned on both devices, you can do all that. So I think that's kind of like a neat little app. Could the layout be a little bit better, a bit more intuitive? Yes, I would say. The text is quite small. This is the iOS version. I've not tested the Android one. I don't have an Android version to hand at the moment, but I will try and test it on an Android phone. But everything you need to do is inside the app there, which is quite nice anyway. So I am really, really impressed with this piece of kit. For the money, I really didn't expect to have a $40 radio that I could program up using CPS over Bluetooth. So it does add some value to the package as well.
M7LRC, was that G7USN? Are you still there?
Yeah, M7LRC, I think you said. It's Golf 7 Uniform Foxtrot Sierra. I'm portable station in Dolby Forest in North Yorkshire, QSL.
Sorry, could you just go again with your call sign? I just missed that.
Yeah, the call sign is Golf 7 Uniform Foxtrot Sierra, portable station in Dolby Forest, QSL.
Golf 7 Uniform Foxtrot Sierra, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. No problem at all. Yeah, I'm receiving you very loud and clear. I can't hear the other station you're speaking with, but you're coming in very clear. So I just wondered whereabouts you were, please. If you could let me know, that'd be great. Thank you.
M7LRC returning. Yes, I'm currently about a mile south of Pickering, so I won't be too far from you in Dolby Forest. I'm talking to Peter, G4VUN in Ripon. So I seem to catch Peter most Sunday nights, so that's nice. And he's into his ex-military stuff, which I'm also into. So yeah, just chatting away to Peter there.
Yeah, okay there. Thank you very much for coming back to me. Yeah, well, very good signal anyway to me. Like I say, I'm just portable with a little Baofeng. It's a UV-28 Plus handheld radio. So I'm just testing it out in the forest up here, and obviously I didn't expect wonders, but that's a pretty good distance anyway to Pickering. And you're coming in good signal, nice and clear to me. The personal name this side is Simon, like Sierra India Mike Oscar November. So I'll just take it back to you then. You can give me a signal report maybe from G7UFS.
Yeah, it's good to speak to you, Simon. You're coming in about a 5 and 7 to me here in Pickering. Yeah, I've also been sort of away. I take it you're camping, and yeah, it's always nice to get a contact when you're away, isn't it? Yeah, but very good signal here.
Yeah, no problem. No negative on the camping. I'm actually relatively local. I live in Bridlington, so we often come up this way. We're just walking the dog through the forest. I'm up at the top of Dolby towards Adderstone. So, you know, like it's a relatively high point, I suppose, but we are surrounded by trees. So it's quite nice that it's working okay. But yeah, I appreciate you bringing me in anyway. I can't hear... did you say it's Peter in Ripon? I'm afraid I can't hear him at the moment anyway, so that's a bit of a shame, but it's probably a bit much to expect from a handheld there, yeah?
Yeah, it's a shame you can't hear Peter, but yeah, like I say, you're certainly doing very well and very clear signal to me.
Yeah, well, that's excellent. Well, I won't keep it with you then, since I can't hear the other side of the conversation. I'll let you get back to Peter there, but thanks for answering the break call anyway. I appreciate it, and hopefully we'll catch you again soon. But like I say, I'm relatively local. I'm down in Bridlington, and I'm often active on T-meters, so I'll listen out for you anyway. So I'll say cheers for now then. Sam Freeze from G7UFS. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Simon, and hopefully we'll catch up again. Yeah, nice to speak to you. 73.
Yeah, 7 Freeze, G7UFS clear. Well, as promised, here's a quick look at the Baofeng CPS software. Now, you've seen this one before if you've watched my review on the UV-28 Plus, because you've guessed it, it's the same CPS that drives all of these radios. And if we look up here where it says model, you can see there is a column where you can select the different radios in the what they call Pro series. Now, this is a little bit confusing because all the radios on baofengradio.com are labeled Plus, but these all say Pro, but this is the right piece of software you're using. So once you've created your initial CPS, you can actually deploy it to all these different radios, which is really good. So anyway, I'm not going to go through the entire CPS showing you all the ins and outs of it because you've seen this one before. And if you haven't, I'll leave a link to the Baofeng UV-28 Plus where you can have a look and see more details about the CPS. But the reason I'm showing you this one today is simply because we're going to look at the DTMF section. So you head on over to where it says Windows over here, go down to DTMF, and you can see this is where you define the radio contact IDs. Now, this is important if you're going to be using the GPS function because every radio in the series has to be programmed with a unique radio ID. And in this section here, you can define up to 20 different radios along with a name. And this is what I was showing you earlier in the GPS demonstration. Radio number 1 here is called Simon, and it's got code 101. Radio number 2 is called Steve, and it's got code number 102. And radio number 3 is called Paul, and that's got code number 103. Now you can have any available number, and as I say, you can program up to 20 radios into a group to exchange contact information. And this is the key thing. Each one of these radios needs to be connected to the CPS and given a unique ID number. So what I suggest you do is program them all with the names of the contacts for each radio and then change down here the local ID. So in this case, the last radio I programmed was the one called Steve with ID 102. So that is my radio number 2, Steve, and as you can see there, local ID is 102. And that is all you need to do. Now this is what got me really confused because I was trying to find the radio ID in the programming elsewhere in the radio functions menu, as it was in some of the other previous models. But now you've got to go into DTMF, which I just associated with tone signaling and things like that. But as it turns out, that's where you set the local ID of the radio. So it's really important that you get this concept right. Otherwise, the GPS positioning won't work correctly. So I just thought I'd spend a couple of minutes explaining that one to you, and hopefully it's going to help somebody out and save a few hours of work and head scratching, because that's what was happening to me when I first got the radio. I was a little bit confused until I hunted around on the internet for some information. So hopefully that's of some kind of use to you there. And that is basically it. Everything else in the CPS is the same as before. And just for information, this one came from baofengradio.com and it's version 1.48, which at the time of filming is the latest CPS available. So there you have it. You've seen the Baofeng UV-28 in action, you've seen it on the air, you've seen the GPS tests and the interchanging of data between the different models, you've seen the Bluetooth functionality, and you've also seen all the other little features that they've managed to pack into a $40 radio. I've got to admit, it is pretty impressive for the price. I've been impressed with the audio quality coming from the radio as well. The only thing I wasn't too keen on is the build quality. I think the PTT rocking about everywhere is a bit of a weird one for me. It just feels a bit odd, but apart from that, it does have a better screen than some of the other radios in the product range in terms of being able to be seen outdoors, because this one's a little bit brighter than the rest of them. If I just bring back in the UV-25 Plus, this was also a very good radio. As I say, that one had better build quality, but obviously it does feel like a brick in the hand. It's a very, very chunky radio, very solid plastics and everything. This one just feels a little bit on the cheaper side, but apart from that, the functionality is great. Everything works, good power output and everything. So I mean, really, if you're looking for a $40 radio that does the basics and does it quite well, then this one might be one to consider. It's certainly a lot lighter. I mean, but it's by no means a small radio, but it's certainly a lot lighter than the UV-25 there. So I think that's a great radio for the money. I'll let you draw your own conclusions on that, and hopefully the information on the GPS programming of the ID numbers has helped a few people out because it was confusing to me. I think it's something that Baofeng could work on to make this a bit more obvious in the CPS, make it a little bit easier to program the radio IDs, because who'd have thought it would have been in the DTMF section. It did confuse me for a few days when I was first initially got this radio, and you know, I had to search around for some information myself because I'd not seen it done that way, whereas the earlier radios were a bit easier to program the radio ID number. But that said, you know, like I say, it could be changed in firmware and software CPS updates and that kind of thing, but it's just something to bear in mind. But once it's up and running, it's a solid system. It does seem to work quite well. So anyway, if you are interested in getting hold of your own UV-28 Plus, then do have a look at my links in the description to baofengradio.com. They do have quite a number of different accessory packages available along with the other radios in the Plus series. So as always, I'll leave some links in the description, and hopefully you found this video worthwhile. And you know, if you've got any comments on it, do drop them down below, and we'll try and answer the things if I know the answers to them, or let the other community members do the same. And of course, we'll see you back in the next video. If you found it helpful, please leave a like on the video and consider subscribing to my channel. It does help, as they say. So there you have it. You've seen the Baofeng UV-28 in action, you've seen it on the air, you've seen the GPS tests and the interchanging of data between the different models, you've seen the Bluetooth functionality, and you've also seen all the other little features that they've managed to pack into a $40 radio. I've got to admit, it is pretty impressive for the price. I've been you know, impressed with the audio quality coming from the radio as well. The only thing I wasn't too keen on is the build quality. I think the PTT rocking about everywhere is a bit of a weird one for me. It just feels a bit odd, but apart from that, it does have a better screen than some of the other radios in the product range in terms of being able to be seen outdoors, because this one's a little bit brighter than the rest of them. If I just bring back in the UV-25 Plus, this was also a very good radio. As I say, that one had better build quality, but obviously it does feel like a brick in the hand. It's a very, very chunky radio, very solid plastics and everything. This one just feels a little bit on the cheaper side, but apart from that, the functionality is great. Everything works, good power output and everything. So I mean, really, if you're looking for a $40 radio that does the basics and does it quite well, then this one might be one to consider. It's certainly a lot lighter. I mean, but it's by no means a small radio, but it's certainly a lot lighter than the UV-25 there. So I think that's a great radio for the money. I'll let you draw your own conclusions on that, and hopefully the information on the GPS programming of the ID numbers has helped a few people out because it was confusing to me. I think it's something that Baofeng could work on to make this a bit more obvious in the CPS, make it a little bit easier to program the radio IDs, because who'd have thought it would have been in the DTMF section. It did confuse me for a few days when I was first initially got this radio, and you know, I had to search around for some information myself because I'd not seen it done that way, whereas the earlier radios were a bit easier to program the radio ID number. But that said, you know, like I say, it could be changed in firmware and software CPS updates and that kind of thing, but it's just something to bear in mind. But once it's up and running, it's a solid system. It does seem to work quite well. So anyway, if you are interested in getting hold of your own UV-28 Plus, then do have a look at my links in the description to baofengradio.com. They do have quite a number of different accessory packages available along with the other radios in the Plus series. So as always, I'll leave some links in the description, and hopefully you found this video worthwhile. And you know, if you've got any comments on it, do drop them down below, and we'll try and answer the things if I know the answers to them, or let the other community members do the same. And of course, we'll see you back in the next video. If you found it helpful, please leave a like on the video and consider subscribing to my channel. It does help. As they say, every little helps. Anyway, have a good one, guys. We'll catch you in the next video. Thanks. Bye for now.